Good morning, West Coast, and good afternoon, East Coast. This is Midday Bell, where we deliver actionable insights, expert interviews, and real-time market updates to help you and myself trade smarter. I'm your host, Rebecca Kerswell, and today we're speaking with Harry Boxer, the tech trader. He's been featured on CNBC, CBS Market Watch, winning on Wall Street, and just about every major trading outlet you can name. Thank you so much for joining us today, Harry.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's so great. I want to dive right in, and I think everyone's just first off going to want to know, what are you trading today / this week and why?
Well, we're a technical analyst at the Tech Trader. I've been doing this for over half a century, believe it or not, long time. And I wrote a book on trading called Profitable Day and Swing Trading, and I have a site called thetechtrader.com where I have hundreds of people on with me doing day trading and swing trading. I'm a big believer in technical analysis patterns. I also believe in a stock usually moves on fundamentals, but trades technically, meaning I follow the intraday patterns on 1 minute charts, intraday patterns, and we do our day trades like that. Every day we find stocks that are popping, running, consolidating, and trending, and today's no exception. Every day we find something that usually makes a pretty decent move in the order of 50 to 200%. We usually get one of those big runners during the session. And my traders, and I warn them all, if these pop and they spike, you better get out, because sure enough, by the end of the day, they're cut in half or worse. And so you got to, and that you must, in my site, trade with stop losses. I won't have it, because one loss is all it takes to wipe you out. One big one.
Of course. Oh my gosh. Yeah. You got to be very careful and take it very seriously. And you've been doing this before. You said 50 years, so before this was even internet based. Really.
Actually, I was one of the first. My room, thetechtrader.com, I was told, was one of the first few websites to have a trading room on the internet.
Oh wow!
2001. So I've been doing this 25 years almost. In terms of my website. And we trade technically, as I said, and if you want to come into my site, thetechtrader.com, free 2-week trial, no credit cards, and see what we do, and come join me, and I think you'll be happy. But what I'm trading right now, look, I'm a momentum trader. I'm a pattern trader. So in terms of what sectors I'm looking at, I know that you had a question for me about what sectors has my eye right now. These are the following. Now, until recently, and maybe still, the nuclear energy stocks like OKLO and NNE and SMR, those were phenomenal. And our swing traders made over 100% on the swings over the last few months. But I'm a little wary of them now. I think momentum is still good, but they're in a consolidation phase. They should move higher, particularly if the market does what I think it might. I think the market is in a phase now where we're in a fifth wave, Elliott wave, long-term play, and we're surging to maybe a blow-off. Meaning, I think the market could go into vertical, spike up, get all the public sucked in, have the professionals sell it to them, like typically happens at the end of every bull market. The only positive part about that might be that stocks that have been ignored, low-price stocks, stocks that are trading at $1 or $2 that have been ignored, all of a sudden they'll be $3, $4, $5. They'll explode out of nowhere, and that usually happens at the tail end of every fifth wave major bull market top phase. Now, I'm not calling a top here, but I'm just saying the market's long in the tooth and has been for years now. And I think that the positive tariff news, and we had some today on Vietnam, we should be getting India and maybe China and a few other countries. Well, I got to tell you that again, it's the market will go up for a reason, technically, and there's always something fundamentally to back it up eventually. Mm-hmm. But the market will usually discount the future, so we may be running up in anticipation of that bill passing and trade deals getting done. And when all that news comes out, the market may build to a head and blow off, and then you may be done. I would caution everybody to sell on any further strong extension, not just a day or two, but over the next week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you might see a blow-off stage that could be dangerous to not have stops on. That's all I got to say. Make sure you have stop losses on all your positions.
And do you think that we're going to see the most reaction in energy? Was that what you were saying, or technology?
Here's the groups I'm watching. In addition to nuclear energy, quantum computing stocks have been phenomenal out of nowhere. Stocks like QBTS and Red Cat and Rigetti and things like those kind of stocks have made a lot of money for my traders. That momentum may not be done either. I'm looking for all these momentum stocks. If the market goes into blow-off stage, to be some of the percent gain leaders. That's all. But they may be very dangerous at those levels.
Yeah.
Now, another group, believe it or not, is uranium. With they really have had a big move. The leader in that group in the industry is CCJ, which has gone from I think it's 37 to 75, and still looks higher, quite frankly. Wow. Then just recently, I've been watching coal stocks and home builders out of nowhere. Yesterday was a huge day for the home building group, and I think they think that it's a fait accompli. The interest rates are coming down in September. So again, the market always discounts 3 to 6 months in advance. Right. And so emerging, there may be some big buys because they've been down and dirty and really hard down for the last 8 months to a year. Built some nice technical bases and appear to be emerging. The leader in that industry is DHI, but you can also look at an ETF for that group called NAIL, NAIL. That's the exchange traded fund for the building group. And lastly, just emerging recently, and I had my eye on them, is the solar group. First Solar leader, FSLR. I like SEDG and RUN. Those 3 stocks in that group are the momentum stocks. But what I'm playing right now is a really hot stock called, a symbol is EYEN.
Okay.
It's gone ballistic. For example, let me show you an example here. In the morning, the stock was just sitting there, and right at the opening, it went vertical from 1070 in a quick 5-way move to 1223 for $1.50 right there. Then it formed a beautiful little, what we call a bull wedge. Yeah. Notice at the end of the edge here, the volume got very quiet. That's what I call the low volume ebb. It's kind of like when tide goes out and stalls for a second before it comes back in. That's ebb tide. The same thing happens in stocks, where a stock is very quiet before it makes the move. And sure enough, it then exploded from 11.5 to 1263, came down and formed a coil, and then really ran to 1464. So we got in this morning in the 10.5 range. It's already up 4 points, and that only took 3 hours. Excuse me. So the bottom line is that this is one of my hot stocks that I'm trading in the room, and I want to show you the daily chart. Look at this. So here's a stock that was trading under $1 and is now 14, and it only took about 5 weeks. The kind of stocks that we follow at TechTrader.com are momentum plays with big volume. Wow. Notice the big volume bars here, here, and here each time it made a move. And today it's starting to surge again. It might very well be 15, 17, 18 before it's over. Pulling back a little bit here on volume on some profit taking. But that's just an example of one of the things we do at TechTrader.com.
That's incredible. So if I'm a trader and I want to follow you, what is the best way to go to your website, sign up for your newsletter, follow you on Twitter? Are you pretty active? And
yeah, the TechTrader.com, the TECHTR, trader, TechTrader.com is a site for active day and swing traders. If you can't spend time online with me every day, and because you're working or whatever, and you want to do some swing trading, we have ample amounts of swing trades we put out that have done very well this year. So I welcome you to come on board, and that's about half the price of the regular full access trade, where you get everything, including all my nightly videos, my weekend webinars, the whole thing. Come to thetechtrader.com and join us for a couple of weeks for free, no credit card. And I think you'll be pleased with what you see and probably want to join us.
I love that. Is there anything else? Like, I'm kind of thinking about, would you agree that we've been in a bit of a bear market, and you think that we're transitioning into more of a bull market, or what are your thoughts there?
No, just the opposite. I think we've been in a bull market, and we may be transitioning. Not yet. We're not there yet. I have an expression I've used for years: never stand in front of a runaway freight train, because you're going to get run over. So people who go short too soon have to cut, get squeezed, and have to cover. And people that go long when the market's coming down too soon find the market go lower, lower, and lower. And if you don't use stops both ways, you're going to get hurt. Eventually, that one big trade will wipe your account out. And that's why so many amateurs, don't stay long. They lose money right away, and they stop, and they're out of the market.
So if you're an amateur trader and you're wanting to get into this, what is your advice? Other than just signing up and following you?
Well, one of the things they tell me is that 2 months in my room is like 2 years in a classroom. Yeah. Because it's action oriented, it's performance oriented, and it's very fast moving. So I wouldn't recommend you come into my site if you're an amateur or even only have a year or two experience. until you spend a couple of weeks for free, at least looking at what we're doing and getting an idea, and maybe doing some paper trades. Okay.
Yeah.
I also have a lot of videos on my site where you can, and that are training videos or teaching videos on how to day trade and what we do during the session and how you can, best maximize your profits when you're day trading.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a tricky thing to get into. I mean, I obviously work in the capital markets, and I tend to get in on deals pretty early on, and then you're always seeing fluctuations in the market and wondering, there's just so many different stocks to get into, and you just got to follow what's happening in the market and the industry and what's trending, and there's just so much to keep up with. It's hard to really focus in, and you've obviously found a style that's very specific. Can you just talk a little bit more about that specific, like the momentum trading and what that means for investors?
Let me just say this before we get into that. The final thing I want to tell everybody is that there's three major things that you need to do when you're day trading.
Yeah.
Number one is preparation.
Yeah.
And I come in the morning 3 hours before the market opens, and I go over all the pre-market action, and I show charts. I pick out several of them for a focus list, and then I'll choose half a dozen or so for my day trade buy alerts, which I will I will post them pre-market if it warrants it. And then when the market opens and starts to run, I do updates constantly, and I show the charts as they're progressing, whether they're breaking down or not, and whether you should be stopped out, and whether the target should be raised or your stop should be raised. And that's how you stay in the stock. People always ask me one question. I get this all the time. How do I stay in a stock when it's running? Because I always sell too soon. That's because you're afraid of giving back a profit. You have to be disciplined. You have to know that no stock goes straight up without at least pulling back, consolidating, and then stair stepping its way higher. So you can't be spooked by a stock pulling back. You have to be prepared to raise your stops. Where do you set it to? Trend lines, support lines, moving averages. Combination of those factors in a day trade, in a chart will always be the way to protect yourself.
It's preparation. You must live on the East Coast.
And secondly, is focus. You have to be, if you're distracted, if you're having a problem, if you're fighting with your wife, whatever, you should not be trading, because it's the kind of thing where you can lose money because you're distracted or you're depressed or you're not in a good frame of mind. And my recommendation always is to get off the desk, take a walk for an hour, come back and see if you feel refreshed. Then you can trade. Then the third thing is discipline. Discipline in terms of when I give you a buy alert in the morning, I tell you where to sell it, what the targets are. I tell you where the stop loss should be. And I'm constantly updating those targets and stops during the trading session. So there's no excuses for not making money. And look, nobody's 100%. I'm not either. But if I can do 70, 75% of my trades profitable, you're a winner. And some of those are big movers. We had one last week, went from 4 to 24 in about 3 hours. 4 to 24. I saw one yesterday, went from 42 to 180 overnight. I mean, it's just crazy, but that's what's going on.
There's nothing more exciting than those wins, and nothing more depressing than the losses. Really,
right?
It's a very emotional way to live, but it's very exciting. I think think I've taken up a lot of your time today, and I really appreciate you joining me. Is there any final words that you want to share with new traders or experienced investors?
Yeah. The other thing to say is this: a market of stocks, not a stock market. What do I mean by that? Don't focus on what the market's doing, no matter how good or bad the market. There was a day last week when NASDAQ was down 300 points and we had nothing but winners all day, because there's always stocks moving up. Okay. And I'm not afraid to short. I have a nickname, Boxer Shorts. So I'll put out stocks occasionally when I see them breaking down and they look like setting up a bear flag or bear trend for that day. And we'll day trade it on the short side. And sometimes, once in a while, when they look that bad, like with the building group, several months ago, the building stocks looked terrible. They just kept going down. So I shorted a few, and they did very well for my traders. So when you come to the techtrader.com, you have a room with hundreds of traders, most of which are active traders have been with me for years. I have at least a half a dozen traders have been with me more than 20 years, and quite a few others more than 10. So it's a place that you can feel comfortable with. There's people that will mentor you. And you can always access me by sending me a private message anytime, or posting a message in a room where either I can answer it or somebody else can answer it. So it's a comfortable place to trade. I'm a big believer if one of the spokes in a wheel is bent and the wheel wobbles. Same thing has to do with if you have anybody in your room who's negative or sarcastic or demeaning. I always dismiss them because it's just not a place. It's going to upset too many people.
Oh yeah, I've been in chat rooms where people get in pretty serious fights, and it's not conducive to anyone, not helpful. I have one question too. What trading platform do you use and recommend, if you don't mind sharing?
Well, I trade through Charles Schwab Street Smart Edge,
Okay.
but and my charts are Telechart or TC2000. I've used them 25 years now, and I was one of their preferred analysts and traders for many of their webinars and seminars. So TC2000 to me, best charting system out there. It's simple. People ask me, why don't you use candles? Candlesticks, right?
Yeah.
I've looked at them, but if I'm good at what I do, and I've been doing it for 50 years, why change it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Oh,
I find that Charles Schwab Street Smart Edge is as fast as anything I've ever seen. I have never had a problem. If I've had one problem in the last 10 years, that's about it.
Cool. Well, that was a free endorsement of Charles Schwab. It's always good to know that's the basics, right? You got to find a good platform to start with and start learning and get used to, and then go from there. There's a lot of choices out there, so excellent. Well, I don't want to keep you any longer, and I really appreciate your time. I personally learned a lot, so hopefully viewers have learned a lot, and they'll look you up online, and definitely at least jump on the free trial period and start to learn and see if it's a fit for any traders out there that are eager to get into the space, or experienced ones that just want to.
And Rebecca, thanks for having me. And I wanted to just tell you that I'm available to you anytime you want me on. I'll be glad to spend some time with you.
Amazing. I appreciate that so much. Have a wonderful day or afternoon. Yeah, it's morning here, and happy July 4th coming up for you.
Don't forget, I'm in the West Coast too. I'm in La Quinta in the desert.
Oh, so you get up at 3 a.m. to start preparing for the market open. Oh.
That's it.
Oh, that's so hard. That's the hard part about being a West Coaster in this space.
You got it. Okay, we'll talk again.
All right, sounds good. Have a good day.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.